Pauline, maybe you're muted. Could you get started?
Okay, that's fine. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on wherever you are in the world. It's really good to be with you this afternoon and from my end in Cambridge, in the UK. So my name is Pauline Essa, and I'm your moderator for this webinar 13 that ROFORUM has kindly organized for us to get together from all over the world. So wherever you are at the moment, yes, we're happy to have your presence for the next 2.5 hours. Please don't leave your seat because we've got a packed schedule for you with speakers from all over the world who've got great insight to share with us. And today, of course, the focus is on global collaborations and partnerships to try to address issues of agriculture and share ideas, share knowledge. And for me, agriculture is a particular area where we really need to join forces to tackle issues of global importance to everyone. As we know, when we look at Africa per se, Africa has got 60% of the world's arable land. And so looking to the future, if we're going to really focus on agriculture, Africa has the opportunity or the capability of feeding the world. We've got the world's youngest population. And by 2050, we know that at least 1 in 3 young people will be from Africa. So we really need to use this as a competitive advantage to really drive agriculture and innovation. But we cannot do that alone in Africa. And so as ROFORUM has kindly put together this panel, is for us to share ideas, understand what new models are being used in terms of agricultural research and practices, what innovative ideas are coming through, how is technology influencing what we do, what are we teaching in our universities, how are we training students, building capacity, what are the exchange programs that we can think of working together on. So we have a packed panel here today, and to make sure we don't run out of time and we stay on schedule, we're going to be having this session to enable speakers to share their ideas and then also bring in you, the audience, to ask your questions and answers. Before we go ahead, I'll need to invite a representative from ROFORUM to give us a welcome message. And then we'll go on to the house rules for engaging with speakers. Just in case you've logged on and you cannot hear us in English, there are 2 other options for languages. We've got Chinese and we've got interpretation in French as well. So if you look on your panel, there's an interpretation globe sign that you can click on. And if you pick Chinese, honestly, you will not hear Chinese today. You will hear Arabic. So that's for the Arabic channel. Another time we may have Chinese interpretation for you. So that's it. And when we get to the Q&A session, I'll give you more instructions about how to go about sending your questions through. So without much ado, I'll invite our representative from ROFORUM to give us a message from their end. So please, over to you. Thank you.
Pauline, thank you for accepting to moderate this webinar. I love your name. My daughter is called Pauline. So thank you. So this is a very good connection. But thank you, Pauline, for accepting to moderate this webinar. Our distinguished panelists in no particular order, Professor Sagul, the President of the Global Confederation of Higher Education Association for Agricultural and Life Sciences. My friend, long-term friend, Professor Caroline Glynn, the President for European Alliance on Agricultural Knowledge for Development, AgriNatura. Benny, it is a great honor that you have joined us on behalf of the American Association of Public and Land Grant Universities. Let me thank you straight away. I had the opportunity to be trained through a land grant university. By that time, it was the only university. That is the Ohio State. I know you have a new universities now in the US. Thank you very, very much for training so many colleagues from Africa and even our European partners and others. Thank you for supporting capacity development for Africa. We are very, very grateful. Professor Singh, great and honor to work with you. We would like to foster greater collaboration with the Indian agricultural universities. You have a wealth of experience, a lot of very close related experiences that we can benefit for African agriculture. Thank you very much. Professor Ying, thank you. Great honor. My colleagues have visited China. I hope one of these days I'll visit China. And I thank the Chinese government for really the increasing role that they're playing for supporting capacity development in Africa. Thank you very, very much. Now, Professor Ru, it's really a great honor and pleasure for having you on board with us. As you know, RUFORUM has got a partnership with your university, and we're very grateful about that partnership. My friend, Professor Ehile from Ghana, the Secretary General of Association of African Universities, welcome. I wish I could address you in French, but I'll just talk in English due to my limited capacity in French. Thank you very much. Then Professor Kane, congratulations on being appointed the new rector for the University of Hussein in Senegal. It is indeed a great honor to have you this. And also we appreciate that you are representing the Association of the Development of Education in Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you very, very much. Dear participants, ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed my pleasure and honor to welcome you on behalf of the Regional Universities Forum, Capacity Building in Agriculture, a network of 129 universities in 38 African countries, to this particular 13th in a series of the RUFORUM webinars. For those who may not know RUFORUM, we were founded in 2004 by 10 universities in Eastern and Southern Africa to transform African universities to collaboratively train graduates to support agricultural development in Africa. We were also founded to mobilize African researchers to generate knowledge, technologies, and innovations that are relevant for addressing Africa's agricultural development challenges and reaching out to communities to solve their problems. In doing so, we borrowed a lot of lessons from across the globe. Definitely from Latin America, we borrowed a lot from Harvard University. From the US, we borrowed a lot from APLU and all Canadian universities. From Europe, really the Agri-Natura, and from India, China, and all those, they provided very useful, information to help us jumpstart what we're doing. But ladies and gentlemen, right at our founding, RUFORUM recognized that African universities cannot achieve their mission and objectives alone. We need partnership with universities and other actors within and beyond Africa. Indeed, the two documentaries that we have just seen, the total, and then the partnership between Far East and American University and the UK universities, they demonstrate the value of partnerships in addressing common challenges, increasing access to quality education and infrastructure, and for fostering better global understanding. This is what motivated RUFORUM to convene this webinar, so that we can learn from each other what is happening, what are some of the best practices. And we really appreciate you making time to join us, well aware that as Pauline mentioned, some people are in the morning and probably have not even started the morning. Some, like in UK, are probably midday and whatnot. Colleagues in, really my colleagues in Korea and China, thank you, because I think it's night, enough majority of them are sleeping, but I can see that Blaine is awake. Thank you very, very much for really coming. Indeed, RUFORUM network has already benefited from partnerships with the different institutions that many of the panelists and the participants represent. We thank them for accepting to work with RUFORUM, and indeed with other institutions and networks in Africa. as shown by the COVID-19 and climate change, no one country or continent can address the challenges that humanity faces alone. Highlighting the need for global collective action in sharing of knowledge, technology, infrastructure, human and financial resources for helping each other address these challenges. The need is even more pressing on us, universities and our networks, because universities are established to be producers of human resources with the highest skills and knowledge to generate solutions to solve challenges facing humanities. And much more in agriculture, which forms the basics of livelihoods for many communities and indeed globally. It is my hope that this webinar will provide insights for training quality human resources, research, innovation, and entrepreneurship capacity development, and for addressing the pressing needs of our time, such as climate change and COVID-19, so that we can produce enough food while maintaining our planet healthy, productive, and habitable. From the reform perspective, I see the following as some of the critical issues requiring our attention. One, the need to re-engineer universities to respond to emerging development challenges, not only the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic, but others, such as the need for a green economy, building resilience to shock, strengthening skills in digitization and other elements, and others that can make us really help build the skills for the future. In other words, how do we make universities transformative and forward-looking and learning institutions? Secondly, how do we foster partnerships for global learning, harnessing competencies and comparative advantages, such as for online teaching and designing innovative programs to catalyze inclusive development and rural transformation? In our last webinar, a young lady from Costa Rica talked about universities not to forget rural communities, that we must reach those who are unreachable. She was concerned about inclusivity. So in whatever we do, we need to give attention to inclusivity. Ladies and gentlemen, the world is changing so fast, requiring new skill sets. How do we support universities to deal with this, particularly for the youth, while promoting issues of inclusivity, as I've said? How do we engage globally, learning from each other and ensuring strategic partnerships for engagement of universities? As a network, we're very keen to work with AgriNatura. There are new initiatives involving Europe and Africa. We would like to partner together. We'd like to resume and regain greater partnership with our American universities and those in Latin America. For colleagues in India, Korea, China, Japan, Australia, we seek partnerships to support our efforts in Africa. So, from an African perspective, we need to foster intra-African collaboration and partnership with global partners to enhance quality and access to education in Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, I plead that we come with practical suggestions for moving this discussion forward. It's a great honor to welcome these distinguished panelists, our moderator, and you participants. Thank you very much for being there for Africa. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Ekwamu, for such a welcome. and for giving us such thought-provoking things to think about as we go into the discussion session now to hear presentations from each of our panelists. In the interest of time, I'm not going to introduce each speaker in detail because we've got the information already available. But our first speaker is going to be Professor Caroline Glynn, who is representing AgriNatura, which is she's the president actually of the European Alliance on Agricultural Knowledge for Development. And as you heard from Professor Ikwamu, she's doing great things and is a great friend of RUFORUM. So Professor Glynn, if you've got your presentation ready, we're happy to hear you. Thank you.
Thank you. I will just speak, and I hope I can see as many faces as possible during this time. And I have so many friends here, so I want to extend the warmest welcome to my fellow panelists from life science universities around the world. Of course, to you, Pauline, I must have missed the time slot. I'm so sorry to come in so late. And of course, to Professor Adepala, who I've known for decades now, it seems, but not least Professor Jose Zaglu from the GCHERA, who's actually keeping all of us together, all regions of the world. Quite a job, I would say. But it really is an honor for me to be here in the same discussion forum once again with colleagues at RUFORUM. And I've had, as I said, really great learning experiences working closely with Professor Adepala and several members of his team that I've come to know very, very well. Most often I've been representing AgriNatura, the Alliance of 35 Life Science Universities in Europe. But other times I've been representing my own home university, which is the Swedish University of Agricultural Sciences. I have a little script here, so I won't lose my spot here, but the African colleagues that I have been working with, they've also been either representing RUFORUM or their own universities. And the thing I want to talk about today is that we work really well together. My university and someone else's university. I see Florence's name here, so hello, Florence, anyway. But the thing is what we want to do is lift it up so that we're working organization to organization for fuller effect. And I would never come to a webinar hosted by Professor Adepala without coming with a concrete suggestions. So this is what my talk is going to actually be about. It really is such that our work, and that's all of us, is conducted by thousands of people out in the field. And these are people who have the mandate, the researchers, teachers, innovators who have the mandate to form the coming generations. So, I mean, these are the people that are giving the tools to the young about, a tool of thought, how to think about our futures, tools about governance, tools about science aptitude, things like that. But one of the most important things has to do with connection with people in the field. And Professor Adepala mentioned, this inclusiveness. Well, it's the researchers and teachers that are working with global development issues that really do have the context out in the field. But I'll start this talk by leaving off where, I'll start where Tim Chancellor, who is the vice president of AgriNatura, left off, because he was the one who gave a talk at RUFORUM's annual general meeting in Ghana. It was at Cape Coast, I think it was in December last year. But Tim talked about European universities are making unprecedented and serious conditions to the ground challenges that society are facing today. And these challenges are, of course, climate change, biodiversity loss, just to name a few. And these are undoubtedly leading to dramatic changes in food production and food security. These are in turn are linked to migrations. So when Tim gave his talk, it was just before the pandemic. It changed our lives. And in the wake of the world's shutdowns, food issues such as markets, transportation, accessibility have become even more relevant. And in a sorrowful way, I have to say that agriculture is back in fashion. It's high on the agenda, global agenda. And this is keenly evident by the European Commission's Green Deal, in one particular area of it called Farm to Fork. It's an agenda for safe, nutritious, high quality food produced, of course, with low impact on nature. So I'm actually going to make a funnel of ideas here, and I'm going to focus quite a bit on this particular turn of events, the Green Deal. But I want to talk about it in terms of partnership with our universities. And my talk, because I have these few minutes to talk to you about the European and the African connections, and the other panelists will talk about their own areas of region, but I don't mean to exclude anyone. I only talk about Europe and Africa as an example, so it's to say. But we were asked to talk about 6 different issues, but I'm going to talk about 3, and I've combined 2 of them into one. So I'm actually going to talk about 2 things, and it's emerging models for education, research, and innovation, and then basically how to operationalize these models. And then baked into that are financing and partnership ideas. So just to preface this thing, going on to emerging trends in higher education and research and innovation. And so I have to preface this is that life science universities don't have a mandate to do development aid. They have a mandate to do education, conduct research, and see that research results get used in society. So this is where I'm really focusing. The point being is that even if we're not working on the development aid sector, most of us are unbelievably committed to improving people's lives, and we believe we do so with agriculture. The idea is that the work that we do is done in partnership. It's not an aid, and we do it with mutual gains. So these interactions are for both of us. Researchers and educators, together with their students who work on these issues, they're the ones out in the farm, as I said, they're the ones meeting businesses, advisory services, civil society, local governments. This is true in Europe as well as in Africa. Sorry, I have a little bit of a sore throat. I'm not sick though. And what we're trying to do is find models of mutual benefits. So that means academia in close contact with the problems that face farmers. That's where the relevant research questions come in. And these new models that we're working with, participatory research, these are things that are advantageous to us all because it means that research results that are pertinent get used by society. And for the university sector, it's very important that society holds knowledge high on the agenda, has a high respect for knowledge. Otherwise, we're out of business, basically. I'm going to hop a little bit because what I want to get to are the important things going on in the Europe, and it has to do with the European Commission coming out with a Green Deal and saying that they want to take, or they do take very seriously their contributions to the United Nations Agenda 2030 and the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. And this means that they want to make these the center of their research policy, research, education, and innovation policies. So what I want to do is talk about an idea. I didn't follow the instructions. I'm not going to give examples about what funding things we can apply for. No, I want to change it like this and say, not what are we going to apply for? I want to know how can we influence the policy agenda setting so that our ideas are coming in dialogue with our major funders. And in my case, in European case, it's the European Union, the European Commission. It's the different DGs that we'll talk about later. But we have an opportunity now to align our efforts. And I know, and I know that Professor Adepala hinted already at it, but I think he knows better than I do even that the European Commission seems very keen to see what can the knowledge base contribute to setting good policies. So Arga Natura, our 35 research universities and research organizations have been in close contact with the Commission, and this is the DG DevCo and Agri and RTD and Sante. And they really are interested in having an understanding, how can we work together? So my idea is that we focus on our own partnerships. We talk about the many decades of working together. We talk about the many thousands of people in the field. This is the way that the Commission can get their understanding of the real problems in the world by connecting into the universities and research organizations. So a way to do this is to work with take a look at the farm to fork. And we can ask questions about this a little bit later if you don't know what it is already. It's the Green Deal is an idea, carbon neutral by 2050. Some of the things that we work a lot with are biodiversity and food security, nutrition, things like that. These are baked into the Green Deal, but in the farm to fork, it has to do with food loss, sustainable food production, sustainable food consumption, sustainable processing, and whatnot. And these are all of the ideas that we work with. These are the focuses of our teaching, of our research projects and things like that. So what I want us to do.
So Glenn, we're running a bit short of time. So
okay.
We're almost done. Can take more during the question and answer session.
Okay, thank you. So what the idea is that we go together, talk with the Commission, talk with the DGs, and see if we can't influence policy. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And a lot of food already coming through for thought. Thank you very much for your presentation. Can I now invite our second panelist for the day, and that's Mr. Bernie Borullo. He's the Vice President of International Programs at the Association of Public and Land Grant Universities. That's the APLU. You're very welcome, Professor. Would like to hear your presentation now. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm very happy to be here with such distinguished fellow panelists from South Asia, East Asia, of course, Africa, and Latin America. Let me begin by just saying I have a personal interest in this particular discussion. I was a Peace Corps volunteer in Cabo Verde, West Africa for a number of years, 20 some odd years back, not recently, unfortunately. But lived in a small fishing and subsistence farming community. So did get to see exactly sort of the effects I understand pretty well, I think, what positive things can happen when we can collaborate collectively to help improve livelihoods, improve yields, increase our research collaboration. I think back to many of the families and students that I had when I taught out there. And how they would benefit from that. So there is a personal interest on this as well for me. Professionally, of course, I'm representing APLU. We are an association of public and land grant universities in the United States, but also in Canada and Mexico. And I'm quite happy to see some of our colleagues from both Canada and the US are present at this discussion today. I want to talk about several different emerging models, but I thought I would begin by one that I think is an older existing model, but one that is still quite relevant. Over 100 years ago, the cooperative extensions at land grant universities in the United States were established. And these cooperative extensions really are a key part of bringing the science, bringing the research from the universities to the communities. And that has been done here in the United States where the universities engage directly with local communities to help solve problems, translate science for the public, help out when there's natural disasters, and really trying to develop partnerships with local communities and connecting people online. So this model, which has existed for over 100 years, I think is ever more relevant today in a global context as well. We're seeing some of our land-grant universities using this cooperative extension model abroad. A good example of this, for example, is the University of Minnesota's extension program. I love this particular example because there's a Kenyan diaspora in Minnesota, and the local Kenyan diaspora in Minnesota approached the University of Minnesota and asked, could you help us in our home provinces in Kenya do some regional development and help out with farmers? And so with some funding from the USDA, the University of Minnesota Extension Program developed a partnership with Kisii University in Kenya to develop an outreach project which supports over 200 women farmers to improve the production quality of leafy vegetables, and also doing some post-harvest handling to obtain higher prices and improve the livelihoods. So that's a great example of cooperative extension programs that have gone sort of from local to global, but still having that connection back in their home states. Now, for other examples of what we're seeing, I think before I get into that, we do have to talk about, or at least address the current situation that we're in. Last April, 185 countries shut down their higher educational institutions as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. This has affected 1.5 billion students. Roughly 90% of all enrolled students in April were suddenly at home or unable to continue classes or trying to get internet access to attend those new online classes. Our professors, our researchers were trying to adapt from traditional face-to-face to having to move to online platforms. So it's been an incredibly disruptive period. And there's going to be obviously short-term challenges as a result of that. We can look at budget cuts that might happen at our own universities in research funding. We're seeing some governments redirect federal funding away from some research into areas to deal with pandemics. So these will be some challenges that we will face in the near term. There's obviously also limited mobility at the moment for international students and scholars to engage face-to-face. Now, these challenges, while they are quite disruptive and quite, again, like I said, uncharted territory. I don't think we've ever been in this situation before, but there, I believe, will be some positive outcomes from this. And I want to just address a few of those and then point to some of the emerging models that I think are being great examples of how these might work directly in the field. So first of all, I think there is now a much more accelerated change in an acceptance of using digital platforms for instruction. We're still obviously learning, but I think this will be a positive outcome moving forward as we start thinking about ways that we can use these digital platforms and technology. There's great potential for broader access and improved infrastructure. Hopefully this will result in greater funding for broadband initiatives and broadband in more rural areas around the world. There's the potential for much more flexible and individualized learning environments for our students, asynchronous learning through digital platforms where students can engage from different continents much more easily than they would be able to do previously. Possibility that governments could see a much greater need for collaborative international research. As Dr. Adipala pointed out in his comments, we're facing global challenges that can only be resolved through global collaboration on research. Climate change, the impacts on food production, food security, as we see public health, these all cross borders. Us, the universities, the higher ed systems really need to continue to be the linkages that tie researchers together to try to find solutions to these problems. Now, here in the United States, what are sort of the emerging trends that we're seeing for international partnerships and how is it relevant for Africa? One major trend, as my colleague from Europe pointed out, is US universities aligning their institutional strategies, international strategies, to the SDGs. I think this is a great way for us to look for not just potential funding, but how we might organize partnerships is around solving some of these challenges in the SDGs. Other examples of what we're seeing beyond the SDGs is kind of a move, not away from, but in addition to some public-private and foundation-driven partnerships. In the US, we've traditionally looked at USAID, US Department of Agriculture, NIFA, FAS, State Department for funding for some of these partnerships. And I think now you're seeing an increase in other sorts of partnerships through, again, private and foundations. Few examples of this include the University of Nebraska. They're working currently in Africa actually to advance access and education around smallholder farmer irrigation with funding from the International Fund for Agricultural Development. Ohio State in Ethiopia is working right now on a Gates-funded project to try to sort of establish a food safety risk ranking system, which would help both producers and consumers with food safety knowledge and assess the impacts of foodborne pathogens. So these are some examples of the private sector and the foundations helping fund some of these partnerships. I do think because of some of the impacts of COVID-19 and now that we're moving online, what are some more cost-effective methods of us for partnerships? And I think a major trend is increasing sort of the capacity building and training of trainers as a very cost-effective model for partnership. I'll mention Ohio State University again. They've been very active in this with Ethiopia. They've actually established a registered office in Addis Ababa, which is serving as a global capacity building outlet on issues that interface animals, humans, plants, and the environment. And through this center, they provide sandwich PhD programs. They have a summer institute that does local and regional training there, bringing US experts to Addis to do training locally and not sending African scientists to the United States. Electronic capacity building using other forms of online delivery. So these are some interesting sort of models that Ohio has done in Ethiopia, but other institutions are also involved. Texas Tech, Ohio State, Oklahoma State are on a project developing a training program for Ethiopian university administrators to upgrade their administrative structures in the universities. And this is being funded by the US Embassy. Traditional programs that we know about, the Borlaug Fellowship Program. We've had many African scientists be funded to come to the US universities to learn about specific research skills in fields and laboratories. As I mentioned, the extension program, University of Minnesota has been involved in Morocco with a partnership with Meknes National School of Agriculture to collaborate on rural tourism leadership programs for leaders in farming communities, cooperatives, and associations. Doing training of trainers. And Texas A&M has been quite active with virtual exchanges in Morocco as well with the Mohammed VI Polytechnic in areas of agricultural leadership, education, communication, and they're training several doctoral students at the moment. And I would say as well right now, talking about the fact that we're on a Zoom call essentially, so we're all interacting on digital platforms and learning how to communicate, I should say, to a certain extent effectively. Minnesota, the University of Minnesota is also exploring a partnership at the moment with Kisii University in Kenya to do some capacity building trainings on how to effectively conduct online teaching. We know you can't just take the normal face-to-face class and go in front of a Zoom call. There are certain pedagogical techniques to be effective in online teaching. So those are some examples that we're seeing amongst American universities in Africa, looking at delivery that's electronic, looking at different forms of partnerships and funding models. Now, what kind of funding models could we look at moving forward? I think we still can look at traditional forms such as I mentioned, government funding, USAID, USDA, FAS, embassies. We have recently been looking more at foundations. I think that is an approach to look at. And one area that we maybe haven't in the US done quite as much in with Africa is looking at other forms of global organizations, beyond just the World Bank, UN, and regional development banks. And so that might be another area of potential funding. But looking ahead, I think we have to realize that in this current era where there's going to be budget cuts, where we're dealing with economic recessions around the world, we will need to look at partnerships that are cost effective and ways that we can continue to create our research on limited budgets. And that would take advantage of technology, of sandwich programs, of capacity building. So in closing, I just want to thank RUForum for bringing us all together to talk about actual solutions to some of these challenges that we face. And it is great to engage with our colleagues from around the world. We're all educators, and our end goal here is to help improve the livelihoods of our communities. And the problems we face, as I mentioned, and Dr. Adipala mentioned, are really global in nature. And I think it's refreshing to be on a call with partners from around the world where we're talking about how we can work closer at a time when many, unfortunately, are looking more internally and nationally. So I look forward to seeing how higher educational institutions continue to keep us connected through this collaborative research, and I will look forward to questions that might come up afterwards. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Burullo. It's been a great honor to hear you talk about what's happening in the United States. Yeah, I really like the idea of linking the strategies to the SDGs so we can have sort of concrete outputs as we go along. Thank you. I'll now move to our third speaker. I've got here, I haven't covered North America and covered Europe. We're now moving into Asia. And so for our third speaker, we'll have Professor Singh, who is the Executive Secretary of the Indian Agricultural Universities Association. Professor Singh, please share your presentation with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pauline, and thanks to Dr. Jaglul also and Dr. Adipala. Now we start the presentation. Actually, India got ahead of the research. From begging bowl to food and nutritional security, feeding the millions the Indian way. I just want to emphasize this. I wish to pay my homage to Professor Dr. Robert Glenn Anderson. He was right hand to Dr. Borlaug and replaced Dr. Borlaug. He died at the age of 52 years. Now, India was a golden bird. Agriculture was the backbone and the base. Because it was a gene-rich country and center of the world. Now, India's golden era was, we had Nalanda, Takshila, and Vikramshila universities. Erstwhile long ago, about more than 500 years ago. And those were compared at that time now with the recent Oxford and Harvard University. In all these three, there were 18 arts. Agriculture was one of them. Now, the earlier situation, India was governed by Mughals for 300 years, Britishers for 200 years. We faced Bengal famine, where 4 million people died in 1942. And increase in population and all other paralyzed system were left by Britishers. And we were actually only having PL480 stuff from US. We were shipped to mouth. And now PL480 was stopped in 1959-60, and Patek Brothers, US forecasted that India is a doomed country. 50% of the population will die within 6 months. But somehow, luckily, we were helped by Rockefeller Foundation, which was a part of the US program. Dr. Annie Borlaug came actually in 1961, then again in 1963. Dr. Swaminathan was a very good scientist, an excellent administrator, and also a policy maker. I was actually introduced in IARI when the dwarf wheats came. Now, we were actually shipped to mouth, and within 10 years, we became self-sufficient. In another 10 years, we became surplus. Now, India production has been at the moment 6 times overtaking the 4 times population. Now, White Revolution came with Dr. Kurian, with 15 million farmers and not many villages across the country. He piloted a cooperative movement for, now, earliest we had only 12 colleges which were changed into universities up to 65. And then we had another set of 15 universities within 10 years. And our actually research was heading more than the education system. The first most has been underground use for green revolution and for increasing the cropping intensity. Irrigation was also very much loved by dwarf wheat and rice varieties. Now, there has been a change, dynamism of wheat. It went to wet areas like West Bengal, Assam, and Odisha, where it was never grown. Rice also went to non-traditional areas, dry areas like Punjab, Haryana, Rajasthan, and Delhi, UP. This has been only due to advent of the dwarf varieties. Now the power-operated agricultural machinery has overtaken the bullock-drawn ones, and the tractors about 94 times, and then seed drills, threshers, and whatnot. There are a lot many things which developed. Now fertilizer consumption has gone up to 350 times. Imagine, that is how the production potential has been harvested. India, a leader in horticulture. We produce 300 million tons of horticultural assets. Now we are struggling to have much more use of solar power, wind power, residue, and this is what, now this is a power-packed batteries of solar, which we are trying to fit with the small equipments for small farmers, where with the push button, even ladies also can work. Now, our precious crop residue is being burned. This is a problem in India, in the most productive areas. We are taking care of this through conservation agriculture. Laser leveling, we save 35% of water. With bed planting, we save 30% of water again. And with minimum and zero tillage, we are saving 1/4 to 1/3 of energy. Now we are developing much more export potential, $6 billion annual production of basmati rice. You can see the change in dwarfness and early product. Now again, 31 billion bales of cotton is being produced, ranking first in the world. And this has happened within 10 to 15 years only. Now, agriculture status, rice only about 6 times, wheat 15 times, maize 16.6 times. And the horticulture production is going ahead much more over the cereals. Our poultry, meat, this is also increasing a lot because now young generation is mostly like these poultry products. And fisheries also is taking, we are exporting some part of that. Now, India's position in the world, we are first in the total pulses, first in fiber crops, cotton, lint also, and milk. And we are just following our neighbor, China, for almost everything. Maybe in due course of time, we may equal and may surpass little later. Now it is higher agricultural education. We started from 1947. Now the first committee was made which recommended the rural universities in the country. Again, the land grant system was introduced in 1955. Dr. Rolf W. Cummings, he came to India. He was heading the Rockefeller Foundation. And now first university came at Pantnagar in 1960. Earlier reforms in curricula, a lot of Dean's Committee from 65, these introduced very good improvements. Now, third Dean's Committee, 1995, they introduced a number of items for making the education more comprehensive. Now, fourth Dean's Committee was mostly emphasizing the development of undergraduate education. And there were a lot of field experimentation, agri-business courses, and these were, home science also was introduced. Now, of late was 2013, Professor R.B. Singh, who was in FAO for a long time, headed this committee of 13 members, and he came to the conclusion that number of initiatives and common courses should be introduced furthermore for more comprehensive education system. The best part happened, the declaring degrees in agricultural sciences in 10 disciplines as professional, like medical and engineering, etc. Now, women participation in agriculture, almost 80% of the women are engaged in agricultural practices, and 100% women for milk production. Now, we are more particular to give more attention to this sector to improve their educational standards. Now, tertiary education and globalization, impact of ranking. We are still hanging in between US and China. Maybe in due course of time. Now we are correcting. New policy has been introduced. National Education Policy 2020 has been introduced now, and a lot of things are being taken care of. Quality, institutional restructuring, holistic education, students, faculty, and whatnot. About 12 different systems are being invoked. Now,
Professor Singh, I'm sorry, I'll need you to wrap up soon for us so we can move on.
Opportunities of partnership. Now I have 2-3 minutes more. India-Africa program, India-Afghanistan program through Indian Council of Agriculture Research. Now, Indian Council of Cultural Relations, 38 countries students are coming. Now, funding opportunities, I have introduced 3 more in the usual list. ARDOM and Florida Agriculture University, and also Michigan State University. Their representative also, I'm thankful to Dr. Adipala, they have been invited. My involvement in the African program, Ethiopia, I was there for 5 months. In Uganda, I was there for more than a month. And in African India meetings, 60 I have attended. And there are not many other programs where I have been involved. Now, India will be #1 economy in the world by 2050. This has been reported by firm King, Frank, and Citi Private Bank. India will be getting into the 86 trillion. China will be 80, and US will be far behind. India's GDP will grow 8% per annum. We have already excelled in 7 different systems of agriculture, and we hope to continue further improvement. And education system is now at the focal point. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Professor Singh. Another fascinating presentation, walking us through the journey, 70 years of agricultural development in India, and there's so much that we can learn from what you've done. As to whether you'll be #1 in 2050, I guess our next speaker will tell us what they've been doing in China and how that compares. So we have Dr. Tang Ying as the next speaker. She's a Deputy Director of International Office at China's Agricultural University. Please take the floor, Dr. Ying.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to introduce myself because I'm pretty new here. So I see your networking are very active. It seems everybody knows everybody. I'm pretty new, so I'm coming to learn. And thank you very much for giving this opportunity to share my experience. First of all, I'd like to introduce myself. The two roles I play here in China. First of all, just as you mentioned, my name is Tang Ying. I'm working with International Office of China Agricultural University, which is the top university in China, top agriculture university in China. The second role I played is I am working for BRASCA. The full name is very, very long, Belt and Road South South Corporation Agricultural Education Science and Technology Innovation League. That's we just shorted down as BRASCA. So it was initiated in 2008. I was there since the day one. So this is we think it's the big league. We are invite more than 40 local universities from China and something like 34 members from abroad, from Europe to America to Africa to Latin America and from Asia. So totally we are right now 74 members. And this is already the third year of this BRASCA. So we have a lot of plans, ambitions, but because of the COVID-19, it seems most activities, I mean, face-to-face communication has been stopped. So that's about me. So that's bring me to my first question is unique models here in China of Chinese university in agriculture education, science, technology, and extension, of course, with innovation. There are close to 3,000 universities in China. Right now, at this moment, something like 40 million students registered in these almost 3,000 universities. Looking at agricultural university or life sciences university, something like 100 in China, because we are a very large territory with something like 50 provinces. So in each province, there is one university related to agricultural or life sciences, and also Academy of Life Sciences, agricultural sciences. So together, so these agricultural universities, Academy of Agricultural Sciences, and also some agricultural vocational college make we call it the three-dimension system to support agriculture production, agricultural development for local farmers and the local agricultural production. That's about the size of China, just in agriculture production and agriculture education. Just give you a quick tour. And we are the China Agricultural University is the number one agricultural university in China, and we're close to 30 to 34 in China among all these 3,000 universities. So we think we should take a lead in doing either research or training the future leaders in agriculture, or to extend our research to our partnership outside of China. So that's why we initiated this BRASCA 2 years ago. And again, we are a student. We are still learning how to build up this kind of a partnership with either our a partner in developed country or in developing country at the platform of Belt Road Initiative or in UN South-South cooperation system. So before we really move on, I'd like to share my PPT about this BRASCA. So sorry.
And Dr. Ng, just to know, we're about halfway through already. So
Okay. So in initiating this BRASCA, we already have some expert teams who are doing, we think, the think tank research. So we have already built this CISCA, and they have initiated a lot of programs with UN, South-South Cooperation Office, and FAO, and publish a lot of important papers, which I will share later. So this is a BRASCA. So far we have all these members from all over the world. And last year, we have reached out with RuForum, and we linked up with the forum to say which we can move on in doing collaboration with African universities. Two very good examples my university has lead all these Chinese agricultural university to do is two major examples I'd like to share with you. First one is we call it a Simple Technology Big Harvest project. Started from 2010, that's almost 10 years ago. So with Professor Li Xiaoyun as the leader, we have reached out to Tanzania, in a Morogoro province, to do this small technology, improve the productivity. Okay, this is some remote area in Tanzania, and the mission is starting from the 10 villages and until like 100 villages, until to all the villagers in these areas. And the agriculture, China Agricultural University send our scholars and professors to this area more than 10 times a year to help the farmers to build up a networking using Chinese internet WeChat to instruct their production, even during the COVID-19 session. And our partner there is the Sokoine University of Agriculture. For the past 10 years, our professors visit them and looking into the production in the field, talking and bring all the questions, issues back and talk with our research in particular area, and then we bring back the solution to the villagers. This is all the pictures we have to demonstrate our activities over there. And we also invite all these extension experts from Africa, especially from Tanzania to China, to have the training to go to the field in the rural area of China to say what we have what we have done here. This program has been operated for 10 years, and it is already listed as a UN examples for poverty alleviation. So And just in this year, it's in September when UN celebrated its 75th session. The UN published this book called Eradication of Extreme Poverty, China's Practice, as one of the major examples of China's contribution to South-South cooperation. And encouraged by the practice for the past decade, we initiated the second program called Science and Technology Backyard Program from last year. Right now, we have already enrolled 34 international students from African countries. They have been finished their theory, we call it theory studies. And then right now they were sent to a countryside, which is also our professor station in one province, to looking into the Chinese practice in real rural areas so that they can learn something. Okay, so the major issue is to solve the last 1 kilogram issues. That is how to bring their research to the real field issues. Okay, this also a.
Dr. Ying, please wrap up for us. Thank you.
Okay, so the last thing I'd like to share with you is this Sino-African STB working daily. They have a practice, they have going to the field to check how the crops growing. They will do this daily dairy every day and share with us, share with their joint supervisors, okay, internationally. Okay, so this COVID-19 doesn't stop us from communicating, from practicing. So we would love to have this program operating to keep it moving. And we probably, I'm coming to learn, and I can use this. I can use your suggestion and comments. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ying. It's great to see the engagement that is happening right down to the farmer level. Really an insightful thing to bring to the discussions today. For our listeners, our audience, please remember to put any questions through to the Q&A box. We're seeing the chats coming through as well, and it's encouraging, so keep those flowing. Our next speaker for this webinar is Professor Ki-Yi Ryu from South Korea, the Seoul University, National University in South Korea. And we're ready to listen to what you've got for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pauline. I wanted to share my presentation first. And also because of it's very late in Korea, so I wanted to turn off my video to save the bandwidth. So
that's fine, Professor.
I have the 4 questions. What is the unique model of the Korean University in agriculture? Second one is what is the existing emerging opportunity for partnership between Korea and the African universities? Third question was what program could be explored with the African universities? The last one is what funding opportunity existing globally and in Korea. So I wanted to introduce our unique model of our university. Our model is the collaboration model in the Seoul National University. Is based on the partnership among the university, research institutes, and the private sector industry. In the past, university focused on the teaching only, and they enjoyed that good job in the university and high position. But research institute, they enjoyed their funding allocated by the government, and they studied what they want to, but they could not link with the need of the industry. So Korean government and our university established the Institute of Green Bioscience and Technology in 2011 to build a Korean biocluster model comprising academia, research institute, and local government and private sectors. GBST is serving to maximize the growth potential in agribusiness innovation and enhance the competitiveness of the value chain of the agriculture sector. As you know, Korea was so poor after the Second World War II and Korean War. But in 1970s, we achieved self-sufficiency of the food, and we continue to develop the agriculture sector through the biotechnology. Especially this partnership model between the university and research institute and the industry was strongly supported by the well-equipped research facilities and equipment. That was supported by the World Bank education loan in 1990s. Our researcher could conduct a high technology research program that was requested by the private sector. So our university has the latest model for the all agricultural product environmental analysis and genome analysis, all the high-tech nanobioimaging centers, and also genome analysis centers using the DNA sequencing, DNA genotyping, bioinformatics, and also genome editing technology. By that unique collaboration model, we have about 60 companies has their research section and sector in our university. So we can have a joint research program with the private sector. So our researchers, when they graduate the graduate school, they can directly employed by the joint partner companies. So they don't need to retrain our graduate for their research and purpose and innovation. Now, I want to introduce the existing opportunity. This is between our university and World Bank partnership for skills in applied science and engineering and technology, so-called PASET. It was signed in last year. It has a sandwich PhD program offered in the African universities and SNU. So the PhD candidate, they can register in African universities, and after they finished the basic courses, they come to Korea, our university, to do research program for 2 years using our research facilities and also advisor from our faculty members. So after they finished the joint sandwich research program, they will return to the African university and graduate. So they can continuously do their research work in African countries to strengthen the research capacity of the African universities. One of the priority area is the food security and the agribusiness. At present, this World Bank program is $15 million the fund, but it will be increased to $50 million. So I think that this is a really excellent opportunity for African PhD candidate to implement their research work in Korea. So every year they are selecting the co-host to research in our university. So I think that this is a good opportunity to have a two-way exchange programs. Then, as the Pauline is very eager to managing the times, I want to share what program could be explored. I want to suggest one program is this one. At present, our university, we are supporting the Inter-American Development Bank to have the biotechnology center in Uruguay in Latin America. So we after established this biotechnology center, we are going to have a joint research program and joint exchange programs. So another one is my suggestion is through the RU Forum. So basically, we want to our SNU partnership model to African universities to deal with the need of the private sector in order to increase the value additions for agribusiness. And also through the RU Forum, I think the capacity development of the green biotechnology sector in African university can be formulated and it will be supported. Because the Korean government, we are eager to support the African countries. The portion of the ODA to the African country has been every year increased. So I think it's the good project, such as the agriculture, biotechnology, biology, that area will be top priority. So my suggestion is that not only just our partner, Inter-American Development Bank or World Bank, even African Development Bank, we are working together to provide the biotechnology and innovation program. So most of the multilateral development partners, they are establishing the technology and innovation sector to provide the better capacity building and exchange programs. So similar one, so we are establishing the Agri-Food Biotechnology Center in Uruguay. And also we are implementing the World Bank's PASEP program. And we are working with the African Development Bank for agribusiness, small and medium enterprises. So in addition to the multilateral development partners, Korean government's bilateral assistance can cover the master courses in agriculture and food and biotechnology through the RU Forum. That's my suggestion.
Professor Rue, could you please wrap up for us so we can get to the next speaker? Thank you.
Yeah, this is the last one. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you very much indeed. Another great and interesting presentation, and it's the first time I've heard an African funder mentioned as well. So great to hear that the African Development Bank is investing in some of the partnership work that you're doing. I'm going to move on swiftly. We're back to Africa now, having toured Europe, North America, and then Asia. So I'd like to invite Professor Etienne Ehil, who's the Secretary General for the Association of African Universities, AAU, to give us a presentation, his take on this view on collaboration and partnerships. Thank you very much. Do we have Professor Ehil? Professor Ehil? If he's not ready, then if not too much to ask, could I move on to Professor?
Can you unmute, please?
Professor Hill, if you're there, then can you please unmute?
Yes, I am connected.
Thank you.
Please
give us your
I am coming. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. This is my presentation. Okay, let me load my presentation. Okay, distinguished ladies and gentlemen here present, dear colleagues of the panel, I stand on existing protocols to bring the fraternal greeting of the Association of African Universities, AAU, and to end appreciation and big thank you to RU Forum for organizing this webinar, which is the third of a series and under the theme Global University Partnership for Addressing Emerging Development Challenges. Ladies and gentlemen, despite its devastation on life and livelihoods, COVID-19 has taught the world new ways of engagement. And it is gratifying to know that higher education has adapted easily. Just last week, the Association of African Universities successfully organized its first African Academic Diaspora Virtual Homecoming, which attracted about 800 participants. Most of them are senior academics from all over the world. Ladies and gentlemen, for those who may not have heard from AAU before, let me introduce briefly my organization. The Association of African Universities is a continental higher education organization established in Rabat since 1967, and the headquarters are located in Accra, Ghana, since 1971. Our membership is over 400 higher education institutions in the 5 regions of Africa. Our constitutional mandate is advocacy, coordination, and supervision for, of, and on behalf of higher education in Africa, and we adopt different approaches to achieve this. Some of our are listed here, including centers of excellence, which are targeting spillovers institutionally, regionally, and continentally through lesson sharing, academic mobility and diaspora engagement, policy approaches, capacity building, research dissemination, creation of communities, network, etc. Let's come mainly to the Center of Excellence. Africa Center of Excellence project in S1, 2, and S Impact were initiated to promote regional specialization and strengthen centers' capacity to deliver high quality training and applied research in Africa. The scope has been widened from the initial focus on STEAM, environment, agriculture, and health to energy, mining and water, transport, and ICT and digital development. There are now 53 West and Central Africa ACEs under the ACE Impact project. The ACEs model are to promote research and innovation, including establishment of multidisciplinary and transdisciplinary graduate programs, engagement of the private sector for job creation through entrepreneurial skills development, business incubation, and internship opportunity, promotion of thematic regional networks of universities to respond to regional priorities, and institutional mechanism to strengthen central management system of universities to build the resilience. That means the vice chancellors are allocated some budget to implement the vision aligning to regional strategies. The second model is the academic mobility and diaspora engagement. We have a scholarship and the first round program of AAU, ASPAU, and NTRAF. We have currently small grants for timely completion of research theses and dissertations, staff exchange, short-term engagement in teaching, research, graduate thesis supervision, and we have widened beyond intra-African universities engagement to include the diaspora. Diaspora engagement, which emphasized the role of the diaspora as sixth region of Africa and huge pool of human capacity to strengthen African universities. AAU North American Office, established in 2019, was established in 2019 for this purpose. Another model is the policy approaches. AAU uses its various platforms, general conference, biannual conference of rectors, vice chancellors, and president of African universities, annual African University Week, etc., and partnerships opportunities to engage the creme de la creme in higher education decision-making. AAU highly involved in Africa's continual education strategy, Decades of Education for Africa, CISA, STISA, Pan-African University, ACES, etc. Another strategy is the capacity building. AAU believes in strong research infrastructure as foundation for conducting appropriate research, has facilitated the creation of national research and education networks, RENU, to provide African students and the researchers with state-of-the-art network infrastructures and application that their peers are enjoying in other parts of the world. AAU also partnering with the African Academy of Science to build the capacity of the continent's national science granting councils to play essential roles in research, knowledge, and innovation. What impact? You can see a large, diverse, and vibrant platform of over 20,000 stakeholders, over 30,000 higher education stakeholders trained in various areas since 2015. Over $650 million mobilized through partners to support African higher education institutions since 2015. And under the African Center of Excellence, we have enrolled over 2,000 PhDs and 9,000 master students from the region, Sub-Saharan Africa. Over 35 programs obtained international accreditation and meeting international global standards. Industry linkages through internship are also intensified. Over $40 million has been raised in external funds. What opportunities for partnerships? We think that some of the bullet here could be very important for opportunities like joint advocacy, joint resource mobilization, continental research collaboration, scaling up and replicating RUFORUM graduate teaching assistantship GTA program. What funding strategy? We also think that a joint approach to African governments, like a PASET initiative, Continental Entrepreneurship and Business Development Initiative, joint response to calls for proposal. These are some of the funding strategy which can be tried. We can be more successful. Finally, I can say that we can be more successful if we work together as a team rather than working alone, because together we will be stronger. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Professor Hill. That's another great insight that we're getting into what's happening on the African continent. I'm really interested to hear how many PhDs that you've already been training. Hopefully they all have jobs coming up their way. I'll move on to our last speaker now, in the interest of time. So we've got Professor Kumba Torekane from the Association for the Development of Education in Africa, IDEA. And we'll hear what he's got to say from the African perspective again. Thank you very much. Please give us your presentation, Prof.
Thank you very much. I just want to clarify, I'm not a full member of the IDEA, the African Association. I am just a coordinator of one of the Node of Excellence, which is the one for higher education. Yeah.
Thank you. Please don't use just. Everybody has a role to play. Thank you.
Yeah, I just switch in French. I have a broken English. I don't want to use my broken English. Pour revenir à la présentation, l'Association pour le développement de l'éducation en Afrique, ADEA, est un forum de dialogue sur tout ce qui est politique en matière d'éducation. Elle a été créée en 1988, ça fait maintenant une trentaine d'années, sur l'initiative de la Banque mondiale, et elle est maintenant hébergée par la Banque africaine de développement en Côte d'Ivoire. Quelle est sa vision? Sa vision est de créer une éducation et une formation africaine de haute qualité, axée sur la promotion des compétences pour un développement accéléré et durable en Afrique. Et sa mission, c'est de servir d'organisation panafricaine ouverte, qui informe, flexible, qui facilite, qui transforme l'éducation pour favoriser le développement accéléré et durable de l'Afrique. C'est un catalyseur et il contribue à donner aux pays africains le moyen de développer tout ce qui est système d'éducation et de formation qui répondent aux besoins émergents et qui conduisent surtout aux transformations sociétales, économiques durables pour l'Afrique. Les principaux organes, c'est son comité directeur, son comité exécutif, son secrétariat et surtout les 8 pôles qualité interpays qu'on appelle les Nodes of Excellencies et une task force. Et il y en a 8. Et parmi ces Nodes of Excellencies, le Sénégal, mon pays, abrite celui dédié à l'enseignement supérieur. Et ce pôle de qualité dédié à l'enseignement supérieur, entre autres, participe au développement professionnel des enseignants et des chercheurs, mais surtout à la réussite des étudiants et à la mise en place d'un environnement propice pour une recherche de qualité et un développement de l'innovation. Et ceci sur les différentes stratégies africaines que le professeur Elie vient d'énumérer. Et en 2018, donc, on a lancé ce pôle qualité et depuis le Sénégal l'abrite. Ça a commencé en fin 2019 parce qu'il y avait tout le processus de mise en place et en 2020, on a commencé quelques activités. Et donc, ce PQIP, qui est le pôle qualité sur l'enseignement supérieur, c'est un forum intergouvernemental. Donc, nous sommes dans la phase de recensement et de l'ensemble des points focaux par les ministères africains de l'enseignement supérieur, de la recherche. Ceci pour faire progresser l'enseignement supérieur et la recherche au sein de notre continent, au niveau des 5 régions. Donc, une première étude a été effectuée sur une recherche documentaire pour voir qu'est-ce qui se faisait au niveau de ces 5 continents. Et sur la base de cette cartographie, un travail est en train d'être effectué actuellement pour voir quels sont les éléments clés sur lesquels, les leviers sur lesquels il faudra accélérer pour avoir un enseignement supérieur de qualité et efficace en Afrique. Donc, c'est l'impact qui est attendu. Avoir un espace africain de l'enseignement supérieur et de la recherche qui permet vraiment aux pays d'assurer leur compétitivité, mais surtout leur croissance. Et le grand défi, c'est quoi? Comment améliorer l'accès à l'enseignement supérieur tout en gardant la qualité. Et une qualité qui va être mesurable. Mesurable en termes d'efficacité interne, c'est-à-dire à partir du taux de réussite, mais surtout d'efficacité externe, c'est-à-dire l'insertion des diplômés dans le marché du travail. Et sur la base de performances remarquables, c'est-à-dire la proportion importante de jeunes diplômés qui vont se lancer dans l'auto-emploi, dans l'entrepreneuriat. Et donc, il faut définir les voies et les moyens pour se doter d'un enseignement qualité, pour réduire au maximum le taux de chômage. Et donc, ADEA est en train de faciliter cela. Et surtout de faciliter l'accès à des financements en créant des réseaux. Donc, il y a des partenaires techniques et financiers qui vont passer par ADEA pour avoir accès aux différents pays africains. Et donc, ce travail est en train d'être mené et des projets sont en cours. Donc, voilà pour la partie ADEA, parce que le travail est en cours, je n'ai pas tous les résultats, mais dès que j'aurai les résultats de ce questionnaire, je pourrai le partager avec RUFORUM. Et en plus d'être la coordinatrice de ce partenariat, je suis également récemment le recteur de l'université de Hussein, qui est la première université sénégalaise axée à l'agriculture. Donc, ça forme les étudiants à l'agriculture et aux métiers connexes. Et dans ce cadre-là, comme vient de le dire le professeur Elie, on a un centre d'excellence qu'on appelle le centre de référence AgriSan, qui est axé à l'agriculture pour une sécurité alimentaire et nutritionnelle. Et donc, c'est un centre d'excellence qui a un appui de la Banque mondiale et qui travaille en étroite collaboration avec l'Association des universités africaines, donc le professeur Elie, ce qu'il vient de dire. Et pourquoi ce centre? Pour l'impact au niveau de l'agriculture. On a vu que sur les 820 millions de personnes souffrant de faim à travers le monde, l'Afrique paie un plus lourd tribut, particulièrement la zone Afrique de l'Ouest. Et vous voyez ici, par rapport à ces données, l'Afrique est toujours le parent plus ou moins lésé. Et si vous voyez ici en Afrique de l'Ouest, les taux sont encore importants en Afrique de l'Ouest. Ceci est dû aux perturbations que cette région est en train de vivre, surtout au plan politique. Mais on espère qu'il y aura vraiment un apaisement pour que l'agriculture puisse reprendre sa place. Et donc, ce centre, c'est pour participer à l'autosuffisance alimentaire et en se basant sur comment nourrir les populations, donc dans un contexte de changement climatique qui est impératif. Donc, ce centre va faire une formation de qualité, une recherche innovante et surtout un partenariat fécond et un travail à la communauté. Donc, former les ressources humaines, produire des résultats de la recherche, les vulgariser et surtout les appliquer. Donc là, c'est un consortium, c'est l'ensemble des universités du Sénégal avec les enseignants, des structures privées et le monde socio-professionnel qui est en train de faire ce travail-là pour avoir toute la chaîne de valeur dans l'approvisionnement et dans la mise sur le marché du travail par une démarche participative et inclusive et surtout une formation orientée à l'employabilité. Et donc, voilà les atouts. Donc, on a un engagement politique au niveau du pays et presque toutes les institutions sont dans ce travail-là. Et USEN, l'université, est un partenaire également de Reforum. Donc, participer à ce webinaire nous intéresse à plus d'un titre. Donc là, des offres de formation professionnalisante diversifiées, formation à la carte par rapport aux besoins des cultivateurs, aux besoins des agriculteurs et des formations à des niveaux plus élevés, comme des DU, des masters et également des PhD. Et donc là, nous allons augmenter le nombre de personnes formées en agriculture, diversifier la formation, améliorer la qualité et renforcer le partenariat et donc renforcer les ressources humaines pour assurer la sécurité alimentaire et nutritionnelle, et tout en développant la recherche. Et par rapport à la recherche, il y a des thèmes axés à la production, donc l'amélioration des récoltes, des thèmes axés sur la valorisation des produits et des projets qui seront spécifiques, tout ceci pour avoir une rentabilité socio-économique et basée sur la mise à l'échelle de l'innovation générée. Et donc, tout cela va être basé sur un partenariat, le partenariat très fécond. Et donc, le partenariat est là. Dans la formation, ce sera une co-construction de formation, faciliter la mobilité et chercher des financements. Et la recherche, élaborer des projets de recherche transdisciplinaires, multidisciplinaires et la vente de l'expertise. Et voilà le comité de pilotage qui assure ce projet-là. Comme autre projet également, juste pour parler de la spécificité des femmes, tout à l'heure, il y a un intervenant qui en a parlé avec l'Université du Maroc et la Fondation Mujer for Africa. Nous avons un projet Femmes unies ensemble pour la recherche, la technologie, l'environnement et la science. Et notre université est un partenaire privilégié dans ce projet pour faire une formation axée sur les femmes chercheuses, les femmes enseignantes, les doctorantes et les partenaires femmes, donc les associations de femmes et tout. Nous sommes avec l'Institut Polytechnique du Maroc et nous travaillons dans ce sens. Et une première formation dans le contexte de Covid a eu lieu et nous comptons vraiment développer un modèle sandwich pour améliorer tout l'ensemble de ces thématiques, aussi bien en agriculture qu'en sécurité alimentaire. Donc, pour conclure, l'ADEA, comme je le disais tantôt, n'a pas un modèle particulier parce qu'ADEA joue le rôle de facilitation. ADEA aide à la création de réseaux et de consortiums. ADEA aide au développement de partenariats féconds et équitables. Ça joue le rôle de mentor. Et donc, ceci permet d'opérationnaliser tout ce qui se fait, faciliter le développement local avec des formations adaptées aux besoins. Donc, il faut vraiment que le monde socio-économique participe à l'élaboration des curricula de formation, développer des centres de recherche appropriés, surtout vers l'agriculture, et développer le financement domestique et l'entrepreneuriat pour les étudiants pour qu'ils facilitent leur insertion après leur formation et exploitation de l'ensemble des ressources existantes en vue d'une transformation sociétale pour le bien-être des populations et assurer la pérennité et la consolidation de tous les acquis dans ce genre de partenariat. Je vous remercie et remercie encore RUFORUM pour l'invitation à ce webinaire et je suis là pour répondre à toutes les questions qui seront posées pour des clarifications. Merci.
Thank you very much, Prof. It's been a great change for me having to turn on to the French interpretation session. It's been brilliant having this opportunity to listen to different languages. So thank you for RUFORUM as well for providing this option. And again, it's been great to hear what a non-university organization is also inputting into what these universities can do in terms of global partnerships. So thank you very much for your contribution. Having heard from all the 7 panelists, I'll now move on to our discussant for today, who is going to respond in his own way to the questions that have been posed to the panelists, but also give us some further insights into the topic for today. So without wasting any more time, can I please invite Professor Jose Zagu, President of the Global Confederation for Higher Education Associations for Agriculture and Life Sciences. That's GECA, and he will tell us what he's got for us this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pauline. Now you gave me the difficult task to summarize the 8 presentations. I'll try to be fast, and I just want to share the screen for a moment, just to mention the organization at the moment that I am part of, the GECHERA. But let me start by thanking all the panelists, and I would like to thank also Professor Adipala, who is a great friend, a collaborator, for inviting me also to be part of this event. I'll start by, I think many of the panelists have discussed the relationship and the relevance of the universities and how we can improve. Caroline talked about the partnership between Europe and Africa. And she also mentioned something very important that I think we should be aware of, which is the opportunity that this pandemia, very unfortunate pandemia, has brought up the importance of agriculture and how we can take this unfortunate tragedy as an opportunity for us to become more relevant, to become more engaged, and to contribute more to the world from our disciplines. And we can talk about it later. Dr. Bernie Burola also talked about the great work of the Association of Private and Land-Grant Universities. They have played an incredible role in the US, and at least the university I come from, Earth University in Costa Rica, very much follow somehow the model of land-grant universities. And he also talked about the possible financial collaboration that we will talk later about this, and how land-grant universities are so associated with communities, which I think this is very, very relevant for all of us. My friend, Dr. Singh from India, it's great to see you again, even if it's virtual. You talk about the great evolution that the universities have had in Africa and how they have played an important role in bringing up agriculture and the food production in Africa, and how you want to be #1 in just a couple of decades. Dr. Tang Ying from China Agricultural Universities also talked, and this is very interesting how we all talk about the association of universities by continents, or in this case, Dr. Ying by by China. And this is a big country with about 3,000 universities, and about 100 of them are in agriculture. Actually, we do an event, Gechera, in Nanjing every year, where we give the award of the World Agricultural Prize. And they have this press card, I think you call it, that try to involve research in real issues for the society. From South Korea, Professor Kil-hee Roo talk of the university model that brings together the private sector, the public sector, and the university working together in high tech, utilizing the internship that the high tech is partners that they have, so that when the students graduate, they can find jobs and bring in high tech into our world of agriculture. Dr. Etienne Ehu talk about the model of higher education and a center of excellence. And I want to highlight a sentence that he used with the Association of African Universities. And this is very relevant to our webinar. He says, if we want to be more successful, we have to work as a team together. And this is key for universities, for exchanges, for partnerships, like RU Forum is doing today, and to look for ways to link with each other, associate with each other to make a greater impact in the world. And from the translation of Dr. Kumba Khan, she talked about the quality call for higher education, the African Center for Excellence in Agriculture, facilitating the collaboration and partnership. Again, we talk about partnership and collaboration. And this is, I think, all what we have discussed today is very important in terms of, I hope that you're looking at my presentation about Gechera, which is a global confederation of higher education, of associations of higher education. And in Gechera, we have about 900 universities agglomerated in associations that we can play a very important role, like we're doing with RU Forum, with the Mexican AMEAS institution, with APLU is part of this association, and Asia, Africa, and together we can make a big difference. And what is it that we want to do? What's our mission? And here, the mission is how we can act, as you all mentioned, globally to enhance the role and impact of agriculture and life science universities in providing ethical leaderships and innovation for a sustainable world. Perhaps nobody better than us, than academic universities especially, can change the world faster than we can. And let me tell you why. Because most of the leaders, usually, most of the leaders of the world in the private sector, in the public sector, in associations, in nonprofits, you name it, are usually university graduates. And if we provided them not only with the science and technology, but with the ethics that we should serve the society, improve the conditions of the world, reverse the climate change that is a danger for us, we can make a big difference. And some of the vision of Gechera as an association, we want to have a stronger and sustainable organization. We want to increase the voice and visibility represented by the global international community of universities, enhance innovative models of education and pedagogy. And we should, we have done an incredible job in the past, but we have to move from past practices to more modern and technologies in education and pedagogy. And enhance or increase members to make changes of relevance in education and responding to the global challenges. And I come from a university that is being used as a model now for transforming higher education. And look at the mission. I want you to read the mission that says, prepare leaders with ethical values, see, ethical values to contribute to sustainable development and to construct a prosperous and just society. Here we don't talk about technology, we don't talk about science, we don't talk about research. We talk because we know that we can do that very well, but we have to be role models of ethics and values and care for the society, for the community to make a change. And this is and I want to share with you, because you all talk about this, a project that we call Transforming Higher Education. This project is being financed by the Kellogg Foundation. It's led by the American University in Beirut in Lebanon, by Earth in Costa Rica, by Getchera with the Global Consortium, and also partnering with the Kellogg Foundation that we have talked about how to finance the universities. Well, the Kellogg Foundation, MasterCard have been excellent partners, and we have had, and I encourage you to look for foundations and even family foundations to help us in this exchange. As a matter of fact, in this project, that what we want to reach is to transform our society by including universities that are interested in making this change, that we could serve the society. We are able to have creative and innovative problem solvers, contribute to the well-being of the communities and countries by positively affecting the environment, promoting peace and understanding and respect for diversity. And I know by the scientific research that has told us that we have this decade, this next 10 years to reverse climate change. If we don't do it, perhaps the effects will be irreversible. So our role as universities, as researchers, as making the people aware, our students and the society, that we have a challenge and a role to play is very important. And what are we suggesting or advising the universities in this new pedagogy and way of transforming our education system? And first is that we have to have experiential learning, what we call it experiential and participatory learning, where the student is at the center of the educational process. And when I say this, I also want to make a call for all the universities that when we select the students, we bias our population for those that have more, that rather than those that needed more. Because we make an entrance exam that usually kids from poorer schools or high school from the rural areas cannot pass that exam. And that exam doesn't say much about your intelligence, it's about opportunities. So we need to rethink how we admit students, because education is the greatest tool for transformation in terms of social and financially for our communities. And the inequalities in the world are huge. Education makes a difference. So experiential learning, we have to involve the students in the learning process, and the professor, instead of teaching a class like we do traditionally, should put case studies for the students to discover knowledge, and the professor be a facilitator of the learning process, building two-way bridges with the students. We also learn from the students. Then we have to engage with communities, break the walls, learn about the challenges that communities have, go to them, have the students spend time with them. And then we can learn from the challenges to base our research. And we think that research, teaching, and outreach should be part of the evaluation process in similar ways. And then we cannot do business as usual. we cannot continue doing business the way that we do it traditionally, where only the economic and material goods or is the important part of the business. No, we cannot make money at the expense of the society. We cannot make money at the expense of the environment. We have to be a more harmonious society. And if we want to make business, it has to be sustainable business. We have to teach that in school, and especially in agriculture, where we have the opportunity to produce in a way that is more organic, more sustainable, less contaminant. So that's another role that we have. And we have to teach our students to be able to respect each other culture, respect each other religion, respect each other color, whatever, and resolve problems by dialogue, not by fighting. And this is what's happening in the world. We are fighting. There is more wars now than when the Cold War was on, because we are not being harmonious, respectful of each other. And finally, I will highlight the other element of success that for me is very important, is the ethics. When you become a professional, you have to be honest. You have to respect the society. You have to be able to listen to others. You have to be able to respect each other. And the only way we can do it, of course, we can teach ethics and we can teach other courses, but the way that we do it is by our own example. People learn values by the role models, and we all as educators have the tremendous privilege and opportunity to be role models for our students. And finally, I would like to talk about the theory of change. How do we change? And I am inviting all of you to become part of this. This is my last slides, Pauline.
Yes.
And I will shut up in 30 seconds. That the outcomes that we expect from the university is ethical leaders, community engagements, sustainability, and social entrepreneurship, experiential learning. And these circles around is what universities we need to do, as you all mentioned in your presentation, about the new curriculum courses, enabling policies, cultural attitude shifts, structural changes, enabling resources, new pedagogy. And with this, I want to say that if we have a commitment to that, we have at least some foundation that say, if you want to join this program, we can fund you, because we understand that you are the ones that can make a change if you really commit to these changes. And I apologize for taking more minutes, but it's very early. I haven't had breakfast. I didn't drink coffee. So I apologize. Thank you so much.
No need to apologize, Prof. Thank you so much for doing a great job to summarize for us what the other speakers said, but also bring in your own thoughts, which have been very stimulating. I mean, I've learned so much already on this webinar, and I'm sure others have taken on a lot as well. We'll move on to the Q&A section now, and we'll just take 20 minutes to go through as many of these questions as we can. For those attending and listening in, please, we have quite a rich list of questions already, and do note that some of these have been answered as we've been going along, so you can check the answered section for those. I'll try now and pick a number of questions and try and spread them around the panelists, because everybody's done a good job today and need to now pick something to respond to. So I'll start off with Professor Singh, actually. There are a number of questions here for you, and I'll try and just pick one that could stimulate great response. So someone is asking what you think African universities could do to overcome the suboptimal agricultural production in spite of fertile soils, favorable climate. We've got all these rich resources. And the question is, how can we do more in Africa? Your thoughts, please?
There be any concluding remarks so that I can cover all the questions there?
Sorry, you want us to move on to?
No, I just want to say, actually, we questions you had from Hampe?
So at the moment, there's a question from Tom Omute, and he's directed it to you, saying, what do you think African countries could do to overcome the suboptimal agricultural production? So just wondering what your thoughts are, given what you've experienced in India.
I have been in 2 countries, Ethiopia for 5 months and Uganda for more than 1 month. And I find they have huge potential. Somehow, still the plant type and also using underground water has not taken place much in African countries. Actually, India's green revolution came with the use of underground water, much of that. Rather, 70 to 80% underground water was used. So maybe if these countries should augur up how to make irrigated agriculture that respond to plant type and also more fertilizer use, and their yield can be at least doubled, if not trebled, in much of the lesser time. Is that okay?
Yes, please. That's very helpful. Thank you. There are a number of other questions, but I'll move on to another panelist and maybe come back to you if that's okay. So there's a question for Professor Ehili. So who will be the beneficiary of the small grants for timely completion of thesis and dissertation? Can students from other universities apply to AAU for this grant? So they want more information about who's eligible and how they can get access to this grant. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The small grant is on a funding basis. If we have a funder who can help us, then we implement this program. Before it was ACBF and CEDA, but I think we have another phase of CEDA grants, and we will see if it will continue. But this is made on the basis of a competition. We receive the competition from all students coming from any universities, and then we select according to the number of grants available. And if the proposal of the particular candidate fits, because this selection also is made with reviewers, at least 3 reviewers. The competition is very hard, but nevertheless, people can get this grant when it is available.
Thank you very much. Again, there's some other questions directed to you, but I'll go to a different one and then we make.
Yes, go ahead.
So, I mean, for me, I heard a lot about what kind of partnerships we have and the engagement with people on the ground in Africa and other parts of the world, which was really interesting to hear. I'm wondering, and I guess I might direct this to North African representative on the panel. So we talk about mutual benefit for these kind of partnerships, and a lot of what we've heard today is about the benefit for Africa. And I'm wondering from your end, what you think the benefits of these partnerships are for you and your colleagues? Sorry, that's gone to Professor, Mr. Burullo, if you're still on the call, could you please?
No, I'm here. Sorry, I heard North African, so I
sorry,
no one else. I think there's always a lot that is gained from our own side when we have partnerships with colleagues in Africa. One is simply a lot of research can only be done in certain parts of the world. You know, the United States has particular climates, has particular soils, has particular abilities. So when we partner with African universities, it gives our scientists, our researchers, an opportunity and our students to learn different practices and also different soil samples and different effects that we will potentially have in the United States as well. I think climate change is a huge factor that is changing around the world how we do our farming, how we do our agricultural production, and how some areas that might be more drought prone in certain parts of Africa might help us as we try to determine how to resolve these same problems in the southwestern part of the United States. So I think there's a lot of mutual learning that goes on both sides of these when we have partnerships. And I think just for many of our own students and graduate students, it's an opportunity to also learn and see the actual practices on the ground. I know when I used to work a lot in Indonesia, we learned quite a bit from agroforestry work that was doing in Indonesia that we didn't do in the United States, and how we can do better instead of clearing land to do mass farming. How do you better integrate farming with keeping sort of the vibrancy of the organic materials and ensuring that you have proper tree coverage? And so there's always lessons that can be learned, I think, when both sides are working together.
Thank you very much. Hopefully that shows the other element, the other aspect to these partnerships, that actually there is mutual benefit, and we should be encouraging those and always think.
I want to add something for the.
Please do, please do.
Thank you so much. In terms of small grant for PhD, there is also the Center of Excellencies that this channel can be used by students also. It's also through competition according to the level of the proposal and also of the term of reference of the grant. And in terms of mutual benefit for a project, I think that what we need to do in Africa is a co-construction of project. If the project is at the beginning by the both sides co-constructed, you can have the same objective or some specific objective on one side and the other side, and you can have mutual benefit, and you can have also the sustainability of the project. I think that now for project, we need to think beyond the project. After the project, what we can do, how we can have the sustainability of the project. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. I'm also having some questions coming through, not directed to anyone in particular, but focusing on organic farming and whether and how Africa is involved in this kind of, in this area, African universities. So I was wondering, do any of you have experience of partnerships where organic farming or organic agriculture is really becoming more prominent? That can go to any of the panelists.
Okay, can I say something?
Yes,
Professor
please.
Hiri?
Yes,
Yes, I think in ACE Impact, we have 7 Center of Excellence in Agriculture. 1 on climate change and biodiversity in Cote d'Ivoire, 1 on crop improvement in Ghana, livestock in Niger, dryland agriculture Nigeria, food technology and research in Nigeria, food security and nutrition in Senegal, and the poultry science in Togo. So for any information related to the Agriculture Center of Excellence, you should go to AAU website and you'll get the information over there. Because we don't know exactly whether there are some centers which practice non-organic or organic agriculture, but we can have the information over there.
Thank you very much, Prof. So again, in relation to that, there's another question that has come through about African universities and how they are aligning agripreneurship, agriculture and entrepreneurship to address the sustainable development goals. Now, SDG came up in 1 or 2 of their presentations, but now the focus is on how African universities are harnessing that opportunity or that potential. So I wonder if any of our African representatives on the panel would like to take that. There wasn't a designated person to respond to that. And again, if Europe or Asia or North America want to contribute, please feel free as well. Thank you. Or shall I pick someone to talk about that? Just the entrepreneurial angle. Okay, I've got a hand up. Professor Ru?
Yes, we have the training program last year financed by the African Development Institute. We trained the entrepreneurs for women from 11 countries. And so they are now taking their action plans. And we saw that there is a huge potential. So our university also, we asked every student when they could graduate, they should apply for the patent, national patent or international patents, but national patent. But our university also financially supports their startup and patent applications. So I think that African approach for entrepreneurs, especially in Kenya and Tanzania and some countries, they already showed very excellent performance using the cooperative to minimize the food waste and the value addition of the agriculture product. I think that is already very active, the participation by the young entrepreneurs and women's. I think that this is very encouraging. So we continuously working with the African Development Bank and the Korean government to support this entrepreneur startup and also the processing management and the marketing. So I think this is good. So we need to continue to support. Thank you.
Thank you. And Professor Zago, you wanted to come in?
Yeah, you said panelists, so I was staying away.
No, please feel free to continue.
I just want to share our experience at Earth University. We went into a very risky process of, we have students from about 35 or 40 countries sometimes, but we asked the student to present an entrepreneurial project in groups of 5. They form like a company, and they have to be from different countries, from different socioeconomic backgrounds, and with a gender mixture. They present a proposal to a panel of the faculty, and they present a project, a commercial project, and we give them a loan. And for 2 years, they go from zero to marketing their product. This is not a class project, it's a real business. They have to define the project. It has to be sustainable. It has to have positive social implication, cannot be a contaminant. And we thought that we will lose money because the students have to pay back the loan. And 1/3 of the net return comes for the university and 2/3 for them. And we thought that the loan fund will be used up in the second year. And what it turned out is that the students become so engaged and so creative and so with an entrepreneurial mentality that 70% of the project break even or make money. So the loan fund have been increasing. And what's more interesting is that although we are a university of only 30 years, 24% of our graduates have their own business or family business. And for each graduate, there are 4 jobs produced. Now, the thing is that the entrepreneurial, it changes their mind when they do the entrepreneurial project. When they graduate, they are not looking for a job. They want to create jobs. They want to become a business person. And I know it's a risky thing, but I think we should allow And sometimes when they fail in the business, it's a better learning process than when they are successful. So what I want to say is that the entrepreneurial mentality after they go through this project, it totally changes. They want to become entrepreneurs, and they want to create jobs, and they want to do it in a socially and environmentally responsible way.
Thank you very much, Professor Zago. So it's been a fascinating conversation, and I wish we could have more time for the questions, but unfortunately we are running out. Thankfully, a lot of you panelists have been answering them as we've gone along in terms of the written text. So I'd now like to wrap up very quickly by going around the room just to get your thoughts, 1 or 2 words, what you think the next step could be, or what is it that really came out for you today in this discussion? Yes, just final thoughts, and I'll go on probably in the order in which we spoke. So I'll go first to Professor Caroline Glenn.
So many of the ideas that came up are those that we live with every single day, and I really feel it's a shame that we aren't more of a team. Like Bernie said, it was like we really need to be a team, and many of us are, and you know, we don't want to be exclusive. Some know each other, but can't we find even more ways together? Gachera, I mean, we're all members. Gachera has been working on the visions and things. Can't you help us? I would just love that.
Thank you. Mr. Barula?
I mean, I agree with what Carolyn has said, but I would also just add, I think, you know, and this is probably because I live in Washington, D.C., and news has not been terribly great in the United States for the last several years. So, you know, there's sort of this overall pessimism in the country at the moment. So this was a nice sort of optimism from hearing all that is going on around the world right now in terms of collaboration and research and how we're working together to improve lives. And especially liked Professor Zago's comments about the ethics, and also about, you know, we're all in this to improve our communities, to improve livelihoods, and to solve these global challenges. So I just have optimism in seeing all of these conversations that we can continue to push for that and lead us as universities, lead us toward that future. Thank you.
Concur, thank you. Professor Singh, just in 1 word, please. One sentence, quickly, please.
Has already been invented in the form of green revolution in India. Others, particularly African countries, are advised not to spend time and money again. Instead, organize technology transfer through dedicated experts. The climatic conditions and soils are almost the same in most of the countries in Africa as in various states in India. African countries, few of them will have to rise to realize that food self-sufficiency is their utmost necessity to achieve, because God helps those who help themselves.
Thank you.
Some like Dr. M.S. Swaminathan, father of Indian Green Revolution, and Dr. Kurian, who thinks about the farmers and malnutrition, should have to emerge to lit a flame among the scientists, bureaucrats, and farmers in Africa to find support. A dedicated person like Dr. N.E. Borlaug and Robert Glyn Anderson, who would create leadership and coordinate to work for the immediate mission, African food and nutritional security, which is eluding African countries for the last 50 years from where we started. And even today, where the knowledge and technologies are available, the moment you think and demand, it is available. Because nowadays, e-learning and everything is so much. Improvement in education and research are essential and complementary to each other. Transfer of technology extension will boost to fill up the gap to achieve the national goals. I hope let African countries should feel that the urge is there to develop and to be its self-sufficiency of food. Education will develop side by side as you go for research.
Thank you very much, Professor Singh. Thank you. Can I move on to Dr. Ying, please, if you can give us your concluding remarks. Thank you.
Yes, this is a lot of information for me today. So I want to say this year would be the last year to the goal that the last group of people living in the poverty in China will be eradicated. That like 80 million Chinese farmers. So we're almost reaching the goal. And China has fighting so hard for past three decades to find a possible solution to eradicate poverty. So we are willing, CU is a part of this project. So we are willing to share this experience with all partners in Africa. And thank you very much for RU Forum to provide this platform. I would really like to continue this discussion in the
Thank you very much, Dr. Ying. Thank you. Can I move on to Professor Etienne? Actually, no, Professor Ru, your concluding remarks, please.
Yeah, and I have been in the Asian Development Bank for 20 years and joined the university. But I believe that agriculture education getting more support by the multilateral donors and also the bilateral partners. So I think the reform is so important to communicate with the political leaders in each country to use available fund resources to the higher agriculture educations. I think that is the reform's duty to activate these partnerships. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Can I move to Professor Healy, please, for your concluding remarks? Prof, I think you're on mute still. Otherwise, can I move to Professor Kane, please?
Okay, can I speak in French?
Yes, please, but we need to get your thoughts in the next 30 seconds so we can wrap up. Thank you.
Okay. OK. Je suis particulièrement heureux d'avoir participé à ce webinaire qui nous a permis de partager les expériences de plusieurs continents et de plusieurs pays en matière de partenariat. Et je voudrais dire une fois de plus, merci à RU Forum d'avoir invité l'Association des universités africaines. Le monde aujourd'hui est tel que le partenariat entre institutions est réellement inévitable pour la survie des institutions. Et je dirais, en fin de compte,
thank you very much, Prof. Can I have final words from Professor Kane, please?
Thank you very much. We learned a lot during this webinar, but we can retain that partnership is a word that needed to be put on side. And also being a consortium, as Professor Ele said, as a team, we need to have more partnership, sharing experiences, technology transfer, and replicating a good model according to the context in order to overcome challenges and improve and transform agriculture and agriculture in Africa to be more productive. And then thanks a lot, RU Forum, for organizing this webinar.
Thank you very much. Professor Zago, last but not the least, please, your concluding remarks.
I just want to echo Caroline's concern that through GECHERA and through each of those associations, we can pull together and work stronger with GECHERA, which is a world association where we have RU Forum, where we could have the Asian, Chinese, the European Association, ICA is part of us, the University of the States, and promote this change. So I want to invite you, if you want to look at our webpage, but please join us. And I think we can find resources for those that want to make those changes that are necessary in education. We have a tremendous role to play, a very important one, and we must live up to it. So thank you very much for the invitation, and thank you for all the panelists for your excellent presentation and for having me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Zago. You've concluded it nicely for me. I want to thank all the speakers, discussants, panelists for doing a great job, staying up at night, waking up early without coffee. You've all done a brilliant job. I'm sure our attendees have learned a lot, as I have, and I hope these conversations will continue. Our Root Forum Secretariat, you invited me to moderate. I hope I haven't let you down. At ESSA, Education Sub-Saharan Africa, we believe in really using evidence to transform education in Sub-Saharan Africa to enable the youth to find meaningful employment. And so this fits in exactly with what we're trying to do as an organization. So I hope that we will continue to work together. And for now, I'll say thank you all very much, and I'll hand over to the Secretariat. Sorry, we've gone over by 4 minutes, but hopefully it's been worth it for you all. Thank you.
No, thank you very much. Thank you very much, our moderator. To you all, thank you to all panelists. I think some of the key messages I had: partnerships, instilling values as part of our capacity development, developing entrepreneurship mind, and I think working together to scale out some of the best practices. Thank you very much for your participation.
Thank you.